I'm Meaghan Carpenter with my husband Shane Carpenter, and we are at our production facility, lovingly called NASA, here in Baltimore City, just 3 blocks south of our production and retail store in Belvedere Square Market, where we're open 7 days a week, and we do production here 5 days a week. We've been in business for, it'll be 5 years this January, and we actually got our start based on a love and desire for locally grown food and accessibility to locally grown produce in our city. The actual name comes from Pennsylvania Dutch folklore, or a practice called hexology, which stems back to medieval Germany, where a lot of my family history is from. And I was sort of enamored by this idea that there were these people that lived in communities that were healers, and they healed in a way that was medicinal and also a little bit witchy. So you would go to your local witch, and I kind of like that idea of having someone you could go to in your community as someone you could talk to, or as someone that you could heal yourself with, and that's how fermented foods were operating in my community and our community. So the name just Hex kind of stuck. And then we found the commercial kitchen, and then we figured out how to get a license through the state after 3 years of knocking on the door of the city. And then it just kind of catapulted, and we started selling at a little farmer's market behind Artifact Coffee called Union Grays. And we were just like, wow, people really want what we're making, and really intrigued by this idea of a living food that's preserved, that has all these crazy health benefits and tanginess and taste. And then we built on that based on what our farmers that we were working with were growing, and what our customers were demanding.
And originally just the abundance out of the community garden and our home garden.
How you make kombuchas, you have to have a culture, and you have to get the culture from somewhere else. You can't just make one. And it's a symbiotic community of bacteria and yeast, also known as a SCOBY. And that pad is basically a cellulose pad. It's not a mushroom. It's not a fungus. It's a community of yeast and bacteria that live together, and they feed off sugar and tannins. And so that disc is slipped into cooled, sweetened tea, and then it replicates itself. And it does that by consuming the sugar, and then so the yeast consume the sugar, and then they produce a mild amount of ethanol, and then the bacteria eat the ethanol, and it stays in this kind of balanced state where it doesn't get to be too rich in alcohol or overly rich in yeast. So then you end up with this slightly sour, slightly sweet, fizzy beverage in the end.
All the while, these microorganisms are pooping out like unique acids and enzymes that did not exist previously through the magic of fermentation. So in addition to the beneficial microbes that they impart, there's acids and enzymes that are unique to kombucha that have a beneficial relationship with humans.
You know, it's important to us that we're in Baltimore City, specifically that we're creating jobs in Baltimore City, and introducing and teaching others this process that they're not going to learn anywhere else.